Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to pre-order upcoming Force of Will sets, ccgprime.com for singles and supplies, cardodoko.com for those rulers in the international market looking for product, the Ruler School Circuit Series now offering our Quarter 2 2024 circuit kits, and our guest lecturer members, Fight Ramen. Class is in session.
Want to play Big
Okay.
Titty Goop Lady.
What an intro! Thank you very much, Mike. That's the first thing that everybody heard. Thank you. Well, thank you, Holzheiser. Thank you for joining back. For running back into being a member. Appreciate you. Right off the start. Hey, yeah, everybody. Welcome back after a long week of Force of Will and waking up to a bunch of discussion to your favorite ever live Force of Will podcast, Office Hours, featuring myself, DMO73. And I'm joined, as always, by Mike Rance.
I already said what I needed to say to start this thing off. That's great.
And Paul Reisman.
Not cascading, because I'm Solaria today. I don't know.
You're a big robot lady? I'm very concerned. I feel like our friendship is a lie if you're just now telling me you're a big robot lady.
I don't know. I can see.
Yes.
Great. Well, Robert Green, also thank you for your continued membership. We appreciate you all. So I just realized that I have the wrong thing on the screen here, but it's okay. They can still see us at least, because I didn't think that was going to happen. But we're doing it live. We're doing it live. So we're doing it live. As always, if you want to consider supporting us and joining the channel as a member, like Stephen Holzheiser and Robert Green have done, we appreciate you all so much. You get access to the cool emotes and
green.
all kinds of other stuff. You can make the chat really green. It's kind of crazy.
Awesome, right?
You can do, yeah, it's really great. So we appreciate that. You also can consider checking out the Thoth of the Trinity pre-orders down below. I think actually Odyssey Games, they usually do a restock a couple of times throughout pre-release, but I believe as of this now, only booster boxes are left in this current wave. They've already sold out of starter decks and pre-release kits, so thank you for everyone who's done that. But be sure to check it out throughout the week, because they usually try to update it. Like I'll talk to Elliot on Wednesday. And you can also pre-order the second wave of circuit kits. So we're starting to get the results of the first wave of circuit kits, so really awesome to see that information coming up. And got some more circuit kits happening this coming weekend, including the OLS circuit kit. You guys got to get in that. That's happening this Saturday. And yeah, so we all woke up this morning. This is the biggest piece of the news for today. Mike's still asleep, which is very impressive. We all woke up this morning to being shadow dropped a ban list update. No video, no announcement on the official page. Just hey, ban list. And
have fun.
We're gonna talk about it. So we're just going to talk about it while this image of 2 times the square root of 6 sits on the screen as our image of the day. First off, let's talk about...
You should picture the whole band list right here.
I'm not going to do that. I can like shift this to make it at least a slight image of the band list. Hold on, I'll do that.
There we
so
go.
It's at least on screen. So it's at least on screen while we're talking about it. Smart selection... Oh, gosh, dang it.
Not very smart selection, but I can tell.
It's not very smart selection. It's because this mouse is dying.
Sad.
There we go. Okay, got it. I found it. Pretty small update. But we can talk about it as I kind of shift us all over here to make this bigger. First off, thoughts from the two of you about this idea of kind of updating the ban list. The main reasons they gave was the fact that the gap between Pilgrim Memories and Thoth of the Trinity is like 4.5 months, and we've been in this format about a month and a half, so we have about 3 months to go until the next, like, 2-ish months until the release of the next set. They decided with tournament data that we've had, they've decided that, and going into multiple GPs over the span of the next couple months, they decided to instigate a little minor, I'm not going to call this an E-ban list, because it doesn't, like, it doesn't feel like an ban list. It feels like we feel like we have a good enough data and we want to make sure that this GP season is like fully informed. So we're making some tweaks to the ban list. Is that a fair statement?
I would say it's fair. I think the only oddity to it is the timing when it comes to like the circuit series and GPs coming up. Like I feel like a lot of people have to pivot pretty quickly since it's
For the
actually
circuit
effective
series, yes.
today.
For the circuit
Yeah.
series, yes. Like, and I'll admit, we're an independent circuit, right? So like, I don't like suddenly be like, I spy, why weren't you paying attention to every unofficial circuit that's being hosted, right? So like, I get that for sure. But with regards to the timing for the GPs, I mean, 3 weeks,
It's
is
enough
a
time.
yeah, it's reasonably enough time, especially because again, this doesn't feel like it's a ban list update that isn't coming alongside a whole new set of cards. So it's also just kind of like it's not really whole new format, it's just kind of current format refined, right?
And also the
So
fact that like here's another thing. Like if you're testing for GPs and you're not anticipating any potential changes to the metagame going into it, you should be thinking about that. Like the fact that we got the set dropped with no real major changes, if I remember right. Like was there there was a ban list when Pilgrim Memories dropped, right? Or no?
yeah, there was a slight
Mhm.
ban list when Pilgrim Memories dropped, but it was like there was some hits on it, yeah,
Yeah.
but but there
But again,
wasn't actually much
the long
in
downtime.
Pilgrim
Yeah.
Memories. Yeah, long downtime, yeah, for sure. And like I said, this definitely feels like 3 weeks on a slight iteration on what we were already playtesting on, as opposed to let's add a whole new set of cards to the environment, does feel like it's enough time to like legitimately be able to further tweak and test out and experiment, at least for me.
Yep, I agree.
Paul, thoughts?
This feels more like a surprise ban list. I think that's the terminology I want to use. This
Fair.
is less of an emergency ban list and more of a like, hey, we're just doing this basic general maintenance to say, hey, these couple things that we've been monitoring. By the way, they monitor the online stuff, which I believe is specifically pertaining to like maybe like the OLS, the circuit series, things like that.
And
Converging
the
wills.
Converging Wills events.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they look at those tournaments, and so like
Yeah.
these non-sanctioned tournaments, non-official tournaments are just as vibrant and necessary for the community as the official ones to the
Yeah.
at least to the design team, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
This just feels like them saying like, hey, we're gonna make some tweaks now so that the things that people have been complaining about are addressed um, much earlier than they would be otherwise because we have a 4
Yeah.
month span as opposed to a
Mhm.
3 month span, which I think is totally fine.
Yeah.
The fact that the company's willing to do that, I think, says more about their priorities than I don't know. I just if you're feeling disappointed, I get it. Just give it some time. I think you're all gonna realize like this is kind of necessary and kind of good for the game overall.
Yeah, I think there's this element of like I think most of the community going into this idea, epic air quotes, most of the community going into this was already kind of the discussion that like we could survive in this format if there was no ban list change. Like we would survive and totally be okay with the GPs as is if we had to wait until May. But if we could do something now, some minor changes could go a long way to fully even flush out and make the experience even better. And these hits to me feel like that. Right? So I get the idea of like I get how it could be seen as an ban list. I think for me, the only reason why I wouldn't consider it an emergency ban list and more of just like we would like to further tweak and improve the health of the environment is because the things that they hit here were not so dominant that like they were just going to be the only thing, right? Like when I think ban list, I think, oh crap, if we don't hit this, the format will be just this. And we don't want that to happen, right? I think like tier 0 formats. And we are far from that, even before this ban list. So this just overall feels like a enjoyment and encouragement of like inclusion kind of list to me. The semantics of is it an E-ban list? Is it a, whatever? Everybody has a different perspective. But I think it's like the right amount of time and the right nuances in terms of the amount of hits that I think it does exactly what it was supposed to do, which is really nice. This coming up just made the format 20 times healthier. Yeah, and it was already a pretty healthy format. Like,
By the way,
mean?
for anybody
Relatively
keeping
speaking.
score at home, just a reminder: if you had card from the same set gets combo banned with another card from the same set on your bingo card, make sure you check that off.
For Cascade and Wind Dragon and Solaria.
Yeah,
There you go.
technically speaking, you can count the masterpieces, but I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, I don't count Wolf and Wolfstone because Wolf is a reprint.
Yeah, so we'll just count it for the 2 other instances where we could have had technically 4.
So yeah, so we can go through the list here. Zombie from the returning from the Pyramid of the Dead. That's our mill zombie, full band. We have seen. It's like it hasn't been making a ton of rounds purely because like the deck can just lose to its own opening hand. But there have been some harvesting season decks that are pretty gross with like Roar of Dark Blessing to just like rip your opponent's hands to 0 and then cast for free and then cast harvesting season and mill 4 zombies, put them out onto the board, and then just tell your opponent, well, you have no hand, answer this in a turn, and then when you die. Is it like a thing that was going to top? Probably not, but it was such a degenerate space in the environment to even exist that if they were making a tweak, it's something that's reasonable to hit, right?
The design of zombie itself is just problematic.
Yeah, and they did say in the article as well that it's the plan to kind of tweak Zombie's effect and bring him back into the environment. Just like, so we'll probably see a future printing errata. Maybe if it's like, if this card is sent from field to grave, like whatever, maybe it's only 1 card, maybe only 1 zombie can trigger a turn or something, right? We'll see how that goes. But that's what has been hit. They also said that they are doing graveyard stuff with Thoth of the Trinity, so they also wanted to like make sure that they keep his design space healthy when that stuff comes out. So I'm okay with that. Pretty overall. Thoughts from the 2 of you?
I mean,
I'll let Mike go.
I was about to say, I've kind of said my piece. I think that zombie being a high roll card and also a high roll card fueling itself potentially is 2 separate issues. Like I already said, like Mikage Rhea plus zombie, I actually have gone on record saying that I think that ban was like a little heavy-handed, quote unquote. I think that like overall it wasn't like the most unhealthy thing I've ever seen. I've seen better turn 1 plays than play Rhea, play a zombie, mill 2. But if you hit the zombie off the zombie and then you add in harvesting season into that, and then you add in a whole bunch of like reanimator shit, like we've been seeing with, the return of 4 cost, bring back Electra, and the fact that zombie just kind of like facilitates that deck way more than it should. I see the issues. Like Rhea and zombie wasn't a problem, but zombie itself in combination with like a billion other cards was a problem.
Yeah, for sure. It created weird deck space.
Harvesting season plus, the potential for hitting like 3 or 4 of these. With your starting hand, you have seen half your deck. That's insane. Which is why people played it. It was like, oh, this card is absolutely amazing. Now that it's gone, I'll just remind everybody, there are mill resonators in the format still. Death Speaker Monk, Shinjiro, Prowlers of Niflheim. Like there are still ways to facilitate your mill strategy. This is just hey, I went off the top of the deck and now I get to just be on the field as a 7/7. Is that cool? Like a 5/5 would be something, and it would still be a little too good in my
to the world to the worlds of even with the harvesting season deck, right? So now there's a way for the harvesting season deck, like the zombies probably just become the addition, like the new world, which at that point in time, like
You're already
those
doubling
get to
up on it, right?
those get to cheat into the field and still mill you an extra one. They just don't actually put board presence out. What they do say is, cool, we both don't have a hand, but these additions are going to buy me back a hand so I can try to do something, right? So like there are still lines for that deck, like for sure. It's just not like, hey, free bodies. You know what I mean? Like you actually have to pay Will. Crazy that we want people to pay
Insane
Will.
concept.
It's insane. Yeah, for sure. Mikage Rhea, going to the no longer on the combination ban list, Mikage Rhea and Zombie returning from the Pyramid of the Dead, obviously. Aristella, Ascendant, and Crimson Moon is on bans, combo banned. This is primarily due to the fact that, like, they talk about it below with a combination ban list that we'll talk about. They wanted to give Aristella something kind of back with his identity because of he's probably the only deck that's probably running Crimson Wolves now. Like most decks are going to want to run the Stone over Wolf, which we'll talk about. But Crimson Moon is a pretty cool card for Aristella. Aristella in general is certainly an aggro deck that's more susceptible to playing into the control decks, simply because of the fact that, like, it's pretty core red-white, which is not your best interaction color. So, like, you can be aggressive, but also the fact that little red, like, Aristella is an aggro deck that will have to pay Will and will not just get to free animate these wolves. It does boost up his consistency because Crimson Moon will be able to search for contract, which is pretty nice. So it certainly is a deck that will be presenting persistent pressure as probably one of our premier aggro decks now, but not like within the realm of can't beat it. It's just something to be considerate of. Thoughts from the two of you?
Literally no thoughts. It's just like they gave throw Aristella a bone. He already can't do anything with the stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think giving him back Crimson Moon is a really good concession. He can still search for his own lone wolf because he can run Crimson Moon Wolf. That's not an issue.
Correct.
But it does help him find his contract, which is also really helpful, and a bunch of other just like really nifty tools he gets access to, just because of the fact that he gets to run that stuff. So
yeah, with the combo with the wolf, why won't they give Aristella access to the stone? Because it's just incidental plus 500 attack every time he flips, and it also makes Little Red a lot stronger, right? Like, and he gets Crimson Moon too. Like it gets too much too quickly, very much for the same kind of reasons. Letting Little Red Judgment and swing twice on Stone Call is kind of nutty. I don't. Oh, because you could just play the like Crimson Wolf, or you could play the Crimson Wind Moonchild, so that she just gets like Call Stone, have Will, swing for 14 twice, 2,800 for free. Yeah, there's a reason why. There's a reason why they don't get Wolves. Little Red.
Staying corrected, by the way, you get the plus 500 attack when you have a Moon addition. So it would not count the.
But the Little Red elements is still very much a thing.
The Little Red element is very much the reason.
Yeah, for sure.
Which, who knows? They might switch some combination bans around if Lone Wolf is not being seen at all. Who knows? Going into the future.
Yep. Like you said, Roderick, Psycheco, like the Crimson Moon costs can be interacted with, as can contract. And like we previously said before, Little Red, or like Red Eyes, has like significantly more things that can mess with him. It also like has to play into being able to spend will, right? And sure, there's things like they're like, oh, well, you'll play Battle Wolf. I think this is a format with spot removal for days. Battle Wolves die very quickly. So sure, that's a mana dork that if I let it survive for a turn will make you 10 will. It's never going to get to. Just not. At least not
Do your
in
job
that.
right.
Yeah, at least not in that deck. I mean, like, there's still a very much a real world where you play like a K3 Moonstone Wolf Ramp control deck just without Crimson Wolves, right? Because you can still play the Moonstone and it still draws you a card every turn. It just looks different, right? That's one of the reasons why like Wolfstone still has its uses in certain decks, even with outside of Crimson Wolf, and Crimson Wolf is good in it Red Eyes, right? So it's like, there you go. I'm gonna make a dork and Aristella Flute is safer. You're right. You're right. Next on the combination ban list, Liberator of Wind plus Magic Stone of Wolf's Night. It's a similar kind of reason that we talked about before, with the terms of just like free every single turn one, guaranteed 1400 coming at your face for free off of a little red with 100% consistency. Is probably something that they're just like, I don't think we want that to be in the environment. There's always needs to be like some kind of polarizing you could just whiff, so you have to play to support the whiff. Because like here's the deal with that, right? If you're playing Scheherazade plus Little Red, the Little Red package has to be Wolfstone. The rest of the deck can just be everything else you want, because all you really need is just to be able to flip the Wolfstone the one time, and then you have Little Red every turn for the rest of the game. So, yeah, that kind of speaks to why that's a fair hit. Thoughts about that from the two of you?
I think this. Okay,
I'm listening.
I'm gonna come in with my usual spiel about the
Do it up.
combination ban list and the fact that we have 3 cards that are combination banned
It's fine.
specifically with Magic Stone of the Wolf's Night.
It's fine.
What does that signal to you guys?
I
here?
know
I'm
you
going
say
to
3 strikes, you're out. It's fine.
I don't know what it's going into. Maybe the stone should have just come in tapped. I'm gonna be real. I think that would have bounced the hell out of that stone and prevented
Maybe.
this from happening.
Maybe. I think the hits to it are fine. Like, I think the stone itself still has cool applications that are degenerate. I think that the Crimson Wolf itself has some cool applications that are degenerate. It's just there's these. This to me feels like the perfect execution of the combination ban list, and I get the idea of like 3 strikes you're out. And there are for sure some reasons why it's like maybe we should just 3 strikes you're out some of the other cards. This to me particularly, because it's in the stone deck, I think is like, and it has multiple different applications. I'm like, I'm kind of okay with this thing eating a couple of combos.
Ooh. See, here's something very interesting. Because it's in the stone deck, I actually think it should be more subject to bannings.
That's fair.
Because I think there are less ways to interact with it compared to something like an edition doing the same thing. That's
Right,
just
which I think. Right, but I think this combination ban list, like the combination ban lists that or combination bans that they're hitting on it, are those like degenerate interactions that I think we would want to see hit from it, right? So that to me is like, I think that's fine.
I can agree, but I also respectfully disagree from my own
That's fair.
thought
Yeah,
process.
no, that's fair. I get it.
Everybody in the chat, tell me what you feel. Do you think 3 strikes you're out is correct, or do you think that it's fine to leave it combo banned with 3 different cards? Let me know in the comments.
Yeah, they did say they're removing a lot of combo bans and bans throughout 2024. So the list is going to be trimmed up probably. Also
Nice.
because probably a lot of like errata reprints and stuff like that, I imagine as well, which is fine. They're still doing Memoria packs. We know that is still happening. We know in the sell sheet for Thought of the Trinity that Memoria packs are coming. So, cough, old 6 stage 10. So
If that stone came in tapped, I'd be happy. Like,
so next, no, you wouldn't. We'd still play Carlina, and we still would have killed everyone. Stop. Anyway, next up we have Cascade of Water, Solaria Sire, and Solaria Ruler of Desire. So this is particularly because of the fact that Solaria, more so than any other ruler, has this incredibly easy access to infinite cascades, and because the entirety of that deck is played in the main phase, it saw like pretty much it also becomes like incredibly powerful to deal with, because most of the time Solaria is also trying to RFG her entire deck. So then like if you talk about, oh, I've got infinite cascades, and then I'm like tucking cards back into a 3-card deck to keep reusing over and over again, like it just makes this kind of infinite cancel wall that is also recurring the infinite tools that she needs to infinitely control the game state and kill you. And because of all the like Solaria's additions and stuff like that, it just becomes to the point where it's probably too good to give her that level of defense. And so that's kind of their argument for why Cascade deserves to be hit with her. I think Cascade in general is a good card, is a fine card for game state. It gives Water some strength that they've kind of been hinting that they want to try to give Water some more oomph. Even the video today with Rio, he like looks right at the camera and he's like, water cards, like trying to say like, hey, we hear you. So this to me feels like the right hit for who to hit Cascade with, because of simply how much value she generates. Also, even just by like paying the cost of Cascade over and over and over again.
Just to be clear, you're recycling Cascade by using the Solaria elemental additions you can just put into the field. Because she treats everything in the RFG as every color of will, she can just buy it back whenever she wants. On top of Sword of Progression, which she can also run and recycle.
So, yeah, well, it's a little bit harder with the next combination ban list, or the next combination ban, for her to recycle Sword of Progression, because she can't change the attribute of Sword of Progression, but all of her other cards she pretty much can change to be whatever color she wants to keep tucking back for solarization of Cascade, especially because that deck just doesn't run Resonators, like, for the most part. So like, you don't have a Resonator, and I can solarize any card and tuck it back. So you just get these like infinite free cascades over and over and over again. It's worth hitting. Let's see. Yeah. Too many manas off of a not stone card before the game starts. Everything wrong with 2021 Force Well.
Facts.
That's a good point, Paul, in the chat. Chat, Paul. Thank you, chat, Paul.
That's why I'm here.
Good old
Keeping
Shaw.
Baba Tunde in line. I will find you.
Carlina still did nothing wrong. I don't care.
Hey, we have another bitey lady coming out next. We know we have another bitey lady coming.
Oh no,
we have another bitey lady.
Yeah,
we have a bitey lady coming out next week. It's fine. Or next set, it's fine.
She's bitey lady and bikey lady.
Yep. Next up, we have Solaris Station of Wind plus Solaria's Ruler of Desire, and this speaks to kind of what Paul was talking about. Just keep tucking back sort of progressions over and over and over again, but also just like the ability to be able to recharge your deck 5 and ramp 5 for free in her deck. She's probably maybe a little too good. Just probably. So yeah, they took that out of there. Yeah, ramp. It's fair. It's a fair hit to her. Again, like, Solaria is still good even without it's still very much a contender. The deck just looks different, which is fine.
I think
we're going with basketball terms. 6 fouls, you get ejected. 6 combination bans, and you're gone.
So the limit is 5 in terms of fouls.
Righteous Oxide, did Shiva get hit? Nope. This is what you see on screen. Is the only hits. Replicant
who is
Shiva.
Replicant. No, I know, Shiva. but who is Shiva? If you really think about it.
I mean,
the blue lady from outside the game that comes in and blows up the board.
You mean that? Yeah, well, she is blue, but attributes are green red.
I think there's a world where instead of relying on Solaris Station of Wind to cycle your Swords of Progression back into the deck, you just run more of the solarization green support. I mean,
Yeah.
the Solaria's wind itself at 4 does not seem insane, and you can't solarize with that, so it seems pretty good to me.
Yeah. Again, I think the deck can. This is like trimming off the degenerate edges of a deck that is still very much a good competitive option. So, that's my thought. With regards to Replicant Shiva, card's good, but also like incredibly telegraphed and is doing exactly what we thought. There are some games where Replicant Shiva does absolutely nothing. Like there are some decks that like I have it, I guess. You know what I mean? And I get the idea of like, well, if everyone can just have it, you know, it might be too good. But like, it does kind of keep some decks in line. I think it's fine. And her by herself is like, it's okay. I don't think she's reached anywhere near a point where she would deserve to eat a ban at all.
Yeah, she's just a threat you need to keep in mind.
Yeah,
It definitely gets
for
worse
sure.
when you solarize for her too. So just just keep that in mind. Like
Yeah,
she's a
yeah.
three cost board wipe. In the year of our Lord 2024, Force of Will.
Stranger Jank. Okay, it's not solarization as long as the gears are in the removed area. They are every color. Yeah, correct. But gears being the other colors are mainly for like buying back with the Solarias or using it for solarization. That's kind of the point. So, and then the last hit obviously is Lone Wolf plus Magic Stone of Wolf Knight, which is the thing that everyone was kind of asking for. I don't think we really have to go into detail about that. I think everyone's kind of happy about it. And like we said, there are good Lone Wolf decks, Red Aristella, but there might be others. There's still a space to explore. And there are good Wolfstone decks. So, like, that's fine. I'm pretty okay with it. I feel like a lot of the replicants have been okay for the most part. Nothing really overpowered. Yeah, for sure. I agree with you 100%. I think the only deck that like makes you a little bit scared of the replicants is Dark Tree, but also then you realize that like sometimes you're playing a Grim Alice or like a Grim combo deck, like or Grim Ruler combination deck, and your first 3 stones are pure Heartstone, and then you realize you don't care about Odin anymore. They're like, well, my stones have Eternal, so I don't really care about you replicant Odin. Okay. The replicants I think have balanced themselves out pretty well in terms of like they have their niche uses, but also people are respecting them in their deck builds, and so therefore their niche uses are also then not coming up as often, which is nice. Yeah, it's a telegraphed wrath. Kind of needed, but you know it's coming, for sure. It's also really funny when you play Seer Abdul and you have Abdul and Gruce Ballesta stone up. Because then you go, cool, before recovery, give her -7 or -5. Recover, give her minus another 5, minus another 2. Oh, she has 0 stats. Whoops, she's dead. That's my favorite. Shunpo's in the chat. Shunpo knows all about that. We did that earlier today, didn't we, buddy? We also stat-negged a Shahariar to be 0 stats, so that guy left the field permanently. We have since learned that against Seer Abdul, we don't put out Shahariar off of the aid ruler. We just don't. We don't do it. I think in the one game we played, Shunpo, I hate to throw you under the bus, but I think I got like 4 treasury items off of Shahariar existing on the field. Hey, it's a free thing that I can destroy. Doesn't matter that you don't go to the graveyard. I still destroyed it, so I'm going to go get a treasury item now. Whee! Listen, you look. Hey, y'all people who are testing for GPs, if you see a Seer Abdul list, don't put Shahariar out. If you see Seer in general, probably don't put Shahariar onto the field. The more you know. Blink twice if you need help. Yeah, I think like my overall thoughts about this ban list is that I think with 3 weeks left, there's a lot of cool space to explore in the environment. The decks that I think are already people were already testing are made more interesting because of the fact that they don't, like, we for a long time said, what are the questions, right? Like, because we were like, well, we couldn't identify what the best decks were. It now became, what are the questions? And I think question one still becomes sorry. I think question one kind of shifts a little bit to, like, most decks I think are already respecting aggro, right? And the aggro that we have now is more like it does cost will, right? So I think that question
It's fair.
I think that question kind of falls off a little bit. I think the question for question one is like, how does your deck keep up card advantage? Like, if I think about like the 4 questions now, right? It's like, how do you keep up card advantage? How do you answer Dark Tree? How do you deal with additions? And are you a blend of activates and casts? Like, those are the 4 that I would kind of put on people for like the things to consider as you're going in this environment. And if your deck can do those 4 things well, then I think you've got a good grounding point. And I will go on record as saying I think there's like 18 different rulers that can do that. It's a lot.
So, like, in terms of maintaining resources, is it because there's decks in the environment that can sustain themselves adequately and you could just run out of gas against them?
Yeah. I mean, I think that there are things that just like can starve you out, and you think of like decks like Killua necessarily. Like, one of Killua's biggest advantages now is that like her aggression is much more one note. It's like Terror in the Ice and Contract. Like, that's the ways that she's kind of hurting people most of the time. But if it was just that and she was burning through cards to be able to do that, I think she'd be significantly less considerate as a viable ruler. But it's the fact that she also can just refill her hand and like try it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so card advantage for her is that she kind of like, that's something there. Or like K3 control decks, every single time they get a Wolfstone, they get another card in their hand. So you can't like starve the control deck, right? Or things like Aristella, right? Aristella gets Crimson Wolves. That man is going to be playing Fire Wolves or Fire Moons, and he's going to be playing Crimson Moon now. So now he gets to kind of recycle cards and kind of keep hand advantage up while being an aggro deck. You have all the Seer decks or the Christie decks that can draw an extra card per turn, or every single time they kill something, they proc. You have Grim Alice, who just draws a bajillion cards. Like, if you're a deck that's like, oh, I'm going to gas out and have no cards in my hand on turn 2, you're like, that's not going to work, bud. That's just not going to work. Like, you have to be able to...
Is there a time in Force of Will where that was a good idea? Because I don't...
Gas out with 2 cards in hand? Probably not.
Yeah, because play good Force of Will is your first concern going into... Can you play good Force of Will with this deck? Yes? Okay. You may continue the adventure.
What about AO3RR with the Brandhound package for the extra will to be able to rip Regalia? I wouldn't play that at a GP because you will pair up against a Solaria and concede on the spot. Sorry. Because they'll flip a station and then your Flaming Thoughts won't do anything. So, do I think that it was neat? Yeah. If there was a Solaria at that event, do I think it would have topped? Probably not. I don't know. The idea, I also think that there's worlds of like, in a world of Muse staring at, or like Solaria's Wind, like eventually that deck has to commit something to board. I mean, Burn is certainly a viable strat, but I also think that like, you have to play a really weird off ruler and you don't get access to the blazing skill that is you don't get access to the extra 1 cost blazing skill, right? So like that extra burn reach could make or break that deck's ability to also answer Dark Tree, right? So, and the fact that like, yeah, it's weird. It's a weird thing. It was cool. The fact that it won the event at Silver Sun Games, like they said, like, oh, what do you think about AO3RR? It was mono red, and I was like, oh, that's pretty neat. I like that. That's pretty cool. Like, I think Burn has a place in the environment, but I'm not sure that that's it in terms of like at a GP level event. But like, I could be proven wrong. I'm also just bad at playing Burn decks, so that's my thoughts there. I'm very bad at them.
Jeremy, some darkness decks have had things that make your opponent lose a bunch of life. What do you mean you're bad at
Losing
burn
life is not burn. Those are different.
decks? Ooh, Jeremy,
I
come on now.
listen. I can do math with life loss. I can't do math with burn damage.
Everybody in chat, tell Jeremy he's wrong, please.
I mean, I could be happy to be told that I'm a fool, but in my brain,
We can absolutely do math.
I can absolutely do math, but only when it comes to life loss, not when it comes to burn. Don't worry, I didn't hold Shunpo hostage for forever. I just sat on double Damascus Moon for like 12 turns.
Gross.
It ended up hurting me actually in the long term of that game. Because I just kept drawing bad cards. And I was like, man, I really would wish I could have a treasury item. But I can't. Or like another Mikey or something. Yeah. Should say it worked out. Ended up working out. But this meta is just really fun to explore. This ban list I think will make the environment even more fun, and like I said, take away these like fringe in terms of Solaria and the Paramita of the decks are like these, like not a ton of people are playing them, but they are good, and they will just like we talked before about like losing to this random pairing that you absolutely weren't prepped for, right? Those decks had their wings clipped a little bit that you could still pair into them, but they're not just like going to have as much power as they did before, so you're more likely to be able to try to skill your way through a matchup, which I think is better for the environment. And like they said on the article, every deck that could play red was just playing 4 Wolfstones and 4 Wolves. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's worth them being like, okay, this is not what we've wanted you to do with this card, so pick one, which I think I could respect a lot. We need to make a GoFundMe for Shunpo. Don't you need Brainheart to play his cards? No, you only need Brainheart to play the super rare skill and his regalia.
Let's look.
Am I wrong about the skills?
I'm sure most blazing skills need you to be Brandheart to play them.
Yes. The only skills you that don't care if you're Brandheart or not are boys staring at.
Oh, boy staring at. Okay, you're right. I'm bad. So yeah, you use so it's even worse than in my part because you have to get the token regalia, which means you have to find the regalia. Like, it's neat. But the fact that the deck's engine to even kind of get running has to get to this thing that's going to either have to be reincarnated or you have to resolve in this deck that's mono red is just like, I don't know how I feel about that, bud. Like, I just don't, girl staring at will mess that up entirely. A spot removal will mess that up entirely. There's crimson, like you can pop the regalia with like Spirit of the Crimson Mist, Spirit of the Crimson Moon. Like, there's a lot of good counterplay to it. It's certainly, I'm impressed that it won the Silver Sun Games event. That was pretty sweet. Silver Sun Games circuit event. But it's one of those things where it's like, as long as you're understanding that the deck kind of can exist and you're prepared at least for the idea of it, I think it loses quite a bit of its potency. So that's my thoughts. Also, if it really does get that good, we just start playing Fire Witch again in the sideboards, and then it's a very sad deck. Because we just put out a Fire Witch and we go, yeah, okay. The only reason,
sad deck.
Yeah, very sad deck, right? We also had, we're gonna do a tier list video next week, talking about kind of our thoughts. Not necessarily a tier list, but I would put it in the like. We're probably going to put it into the categories of like not GP worthy, rogue GP worthy, serious contender is kind of where I would put it. Because like I would have to break it down. I think Tyler Tompkins's tier list is currently like tier 1, tier 1.25, tier 1.5, tier 2. Like it's
You just gotta go
pretty
tier maker with like S, A, B. No, not even.
S
You have to replace
minus.
them with like no. You have to replace the S with like would clap you in the middle of a tournament. A is like clapped
yeah.
you
I
once,
I
but
think
like missed out on a few rounds, and
Is to
then like
be A, A negative, B negative, AB negative, O
O
negative.
positive. Yeah, for
positive.
sure. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
That's
that's
the
your
real
tier
tier
list.
list.
Yeah, for sure. No, but I think I do think you can kind of like categorically put decks in this environment, put rulers in this environment into like 3 categories, which is like serious contender, like something that's worth your time, has been on people's radar, probably has a good chance of topping. Rogue would be like a couple people might play this, but I wouldn't be surprised if it topped, but it wouldn't be like my first choice to pick if I wanted like the safe option. And then the last quarter category is, what are we doing here? We're here to have fun. We're here to have fun and then go play side events on day 2. That's what we're here for. Which they did announce side events for Minnesota GP, which is going to be they're doing it different this time, which I think is pretty cool. They're doing pods. On-demand pods, similar to how we do at FowFest. So they're going to be doing ABC pods, and they're going to be doing Wanderer pods all day on Sunday, which is awesome. That means a lot of us will get to play a lot more. It means that the commentary team will be able to play a lot more, because in the past, like when top 8 is done, the side events are done. So it seems to me like we're going to be hanging out at the venue for a while on Sunday, which is awesome, because it's a really nice venue and getting to play some games and play ABC and stuff. Are there prizes for participating in these pods? I would imagine yes. Hasn't been posted yet, but I would imagine yes. I don't know. I'm not Svetlana or Landon, but I will say that I have updated my green-black ABC deck, and it's gross.
Hey, how many trial in? 1? Nice.
1. I do have to thank Steven Holsheiser for proving to me that in a 1v1 green-black cannot be stopped in ABC format.
Very good. Love that. Sure, leather pods 4.
Yeah, for sure. I went first, and I played Alvarez the Demon Castle, and he was playing green-blue. I remember there's no Energize in ABC. So that was just safe. And then his first stone call is Ragstone, so that's great for me. And then my second stone plays me a Guardian Dragon who flipped over Ragstone. So I got Ragstone off of the Guardian Dragon. We were having a good time.
No,
we were having
were having a good time.
I was having a good time. I mean
great.
me and my cards. I mean, but by we, I mean me and my cards. We're having a good time.
The only company that matters to me. My ABC deck.
You have to have an over/under on how many added tiers during the stream. That's fair. That's a fair point. We'll put how many tiers will we add midstream. With our last 10 minutes, I did want to talk about the video that was posted today about the starter decks.
Good lady.
We have hold on. Something in my mouth. Just a hair in my mouth. Not fun.
That's on the internet forever now, Jeremy.
That is on the internet. Hey, listen,
Yeah,
not the weirdest thing
of
of me that's on the internet. That's fine. I've seen, yeah. Don't ask. Anyway, so we got the starter deck information. We have Lehen, who very clearly is just Helen. Even in the story of the starter deck, it talks about how Lehen came to Valhalla, realized that the form that she had while she was in Valhalla wasn't strong enough to be able to finish her exploration in Valhalla, so she left Valhalla to try to find a way to be able to come back under a different name. And Lehen is just Helen as an anagram, so like that's very clear. She works with the exploration mechanic similarly to Helen. We don't have any of her card text, but they did say that she will be able to play treasuries that she's exiled by paying their cost on her front side, and on her back side she will be able to play 2 treasuries that she has explored for free. So probably like a 2 treasuries per turn for free kind of thing, which is pretty cool. I really like the bringing back of the exploration mechanic. I think that's pretty nice. I can't wait to see the new treasures that we will have, including the final text of Mirror. That's going to be nice. And then Yokoshima, I think, is the green-red guy, and he is a like engineer kind of creation god story, and he found out that the things that he was creating, as much as they were helpful to him, were like this half-life kind of a thing. So he left Valhalla to try to understand and be able to eventually create pure life. And so his mechanic with green-red is mana and ancient magic. So return from mechanic from Lapis Cluster, which is pretty cool. And we know that he also has Call of the Monarch, so he will be able to play his creations from the graveyard, which is probably why Zombie of the Paramita of the Dead got got banned, because he's a graveyard deck. Crazy. Anyway, so we don't exactly know how that mechanic's going to work. We just know that it's there. And we did know that he'll be able to use mana on his front side to pay 1 into Ancient Magics, and then on his backside he'll somehow be able to play Ancient Magics for free and potentially clone them, which is pretty cool. And then also we got a big hint, I guess, from Rio saying that more mechanics from Lapis Cluster might see like support again.
Inheritance? Glorious?
Very
Ego lady?
well. Inheritance has already been getting a lot of support because of the change to the card effect from a lot of things, but that's pretty neat to me. I think that's pretty neat, getting more Lapis Cluster stuff. Ancient Magic's being supported is pretty cool. So I just don't know what else they're gonna bring in from Lapis Cluster. Maybe something like auras. Like the auras were a cool mechanic. They just wrote seal badly. So maybe we'll get some aura support in such a way that isn't bad. But there's cool stuff and cool starter decks. I think it's very cool. Lore driven starter decks, cool mechanics, I think will be a good introduction to people who are introduced to it. And I gotta love revisiting old mechanics. That's pretty nice. Ancient Magic cards buy out soon. Hey, World Flame summoning. Let's blow up 2 special magic zones.
Don't tell me it was a good time, man.
This is how I'm gonna get Mike Rand's back. We're gonna make a good Ancient Magic deck, and he's actually going to come to events to play them.
You're gonna put the 4 cost awakening one. It's gonna put 3 hooks into play, and I'm just gonna cry.
Yeah, we're going to play that one. It's going to put 4 hooks into play, and we recognize that your only 4 stones are 4 of the Grimstones that have barrier, and we're going to go, wait a minute, why did we cast this?
Then you have to target your own stones, I'm pretty sure, at that point, right?
You can just choose to have hook target, like, the resonators instead, right? Because you could put a rested resonator back into the field. You just choose that mode.
That's an effect that hook has, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that's coming.
Oh, Force, though. Hope he's right.
We already have seen some Force mechanic support come back with the Pandora stuff, right?
What if we got like actual Force support? Like, how crazy would that be? How insane would that be?
That would be insane.
Imagine if there was a Force effect that like did something. That would be crazy.
That would be insane.
What other effect from Lapis Cluster? Oh, we get more Chimeras. Jeremy.
Yeah! Yes! Yes!
I mean, Jeremy's already seething from the fact that these star decks don't have any darkness in them. It's blue, white.
Yeah, the other blue, white, green, red. No, nothing else.
Tim just saw this and was like, Jeremy really needs to just get like taken down like a few notches. Let's
no
just
darkness.
make sure that we don't give him anything that he wants.
No darkness. And the darkness ruler that's in here's the funny thing, the darkness ruler that's in Trinity Cluster is gonna be all life loss. So it's gonna be like, Jeremy, you can't do math. And I'm like, no.
Spoiler, it's gonna be self-life loss, so you have to do math too on both sides.
Oh no. I can't do double. You want me to do double math? I can't do double math. Paul, any thoughts about these starter deck ideas?
I'm just hoping they are distinct and they are fun to play because new players need some good stuff. So
Yes.
Oh my
That's what I'm
god,
hoping
Paul
for.
being the beacon of light that we need right now while we're just
Yeah.
talking shit about darkness.
Boo, beacon of light. Boo.
Ooh, beacon of light.
Shun the beacon. Shun the beacon. Shun.
That is
I just want to
punishment.
talk
Boo.
shit about. I just want to talk shit about Lapis mechanics, man.
I liked Lapis
Boo.
mechanics. They just, like I said,
You
they
know-
just wrote. They
you
just
know
wrote
what?
seal
I'm
bad.
gonna-
They just wrote
I'm
seal
just-
bad. Literally, like legitimately. Okay, so we're gonna like we have 3 minutes left. Legitimately, if they had actually worded CL so that each individual thing was like a separate ability, so she would suddenly put like 6 enter effects on the chase.
No, Fluorite
CL would have
one.
CL would have been insanely good. Like insanely
Jeremy,
good.
Jeremy, was it CL Ray Cluster?
You're right. Even worse. I'm thinking of the wrong cluster. Gosh dang it. Lapis cluster mechanics. Green red Prisia. Reincarnation. Ooh. Oh. The reincarnation mechanic might be cool to bring back. That was a
The,
pretty
like,
like
cycling.
the actual like
resonators.
cycling stuff resonators mechanic. That was actually pretty cool.
No,
to
you know what
like,
we need
that
to
was a
bring
cool
back?
mechanic.
You know it was a popular mechanic that everybody loved and nobody hated entirely? Limit. I think we should bring that back.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. That's the one to bring back. Yeah, this is just kind of a side note that for the progression series, Bremont and I have decided that we're each going to get to spin one random Lapis cluster deck to add to our pool. Really
That's pretty
hoping
good.
I don't. I'm really hoping I don't get the Lunya one.
Oh, you know what?
really
Look,
like.
we haven't had a torrent card printed in literally forever. We've had cards that
Oh,
are
torrent would be pretty
basically
cool.
torrent.
I would say, yeah,
Basically.
torrent would be pretty neat.
That'd be neat. I would love to see actual real torrent support.
Yeah,
Like
that's
that
pretty
was
cool.
never explored. The only exploration was Regalia, Elf, Quiber.
Jokes on you, Trinity cluster. The entire cluster is actually just Pilgrim Memories Lapis cluster. Just like the entire cluster is just a
I'd
Lapis
come back
cluster.
immediately.
Like just
The
all
closest we
Lapis
had to
cluster support.
torrent was Justice's mechanics.
That's true. Justice
That's the
I
mechanics
was
closest
is
literally about to say,
recycling.
I'm pretty sure that was torrent.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, hang on, wait. Big epic quotes from
Yeah,
Paul.
big air quotes,
Torrent.
big quotes. Yeah. Just some housekeeping notes here as we close out for the week. As a reminder, we are going to try to have the next episode of the progression series out this week. We are also going to have a really fun match between myself on a Dracula Christie list versus Josh and a Cthulhu roulette build. Cthulhu incarnation apple roulette
What?
build. Yeah, it's honestly very, very fun. I just finished editing the match today. It's going to be a keeper. We have deck profiles for those lists later this week as well. There is going to be a podcast next week, a feature match next week. And then we're going to be kind of like taking a couple weeks off because we'll be prepping for the GP stuff and kind of getting back from the GPs. So tune into that. Again, as always, get your circuit kits ordered or talk to your store about getting your circuit kits ordered and then get your pre-orders in for next set. So that's it for us tonight. Thank you all so much for being here. And until next time, this has been myself, DMO73, and I've been joined, as always, by Mike Rance.
Our green shift was actually a Alice cluster mechanic, so no.
That's true. And Paul Reisman.
To witnesses of this podcast, I am reading this of my own free will. As Jeremy Franklin is my employer, I am contractually obligated to say that he is the best force of will player in the world, even better than Ryan Miles.
Okay,
As
class
a result
dismissed.
of this,
Bye.
Ryan Miles is one.